Guess what? Somebody just told me 10 minutes ago that it's Wednesday. So here I am because it's time for the breakdown. I'm your host, Catherine, aka The High Heel Gamer, and today we're breaking down a Kickstarter that just got funded, fully funded, ADRIFT. And with us today is Mark Felton. Hi, Mark. I said it right? Fenton. Oh, no, Fenton. What did I say? Felton? I don't even know what's happening anymore. I'm sorry, Mark. I swear to you, I know what I'm doing.
No worries.
Well, thank you for coming on to the show. So you are, correct me if I'm wrong, the writer and artist? Just the writer.
Just the writer.
Okay.
Yeah, the artist is actually Jacob. I'm going to pronounce his last name wrong. I believe it's Ygueren. It's Egueren. He's done stuff for DC and Wildstorm. So he's worked on Flash, Blue Beetle. I don't remember the Wildstorm title, but he's worked on some mainstream stuff.
That's exciting. That's pretty cool. So tell us a little bit about ADRIFT.
Sure. So we wanted to do a horror story for a while now, and we kicked around some ideas of vampire, Middle Eastern type stuff, and we really ended up coming up with ADRIFT, which is, we kind of pitched it as, I don't remember how we pitched it now. We did it as like a fantasy island, a Hostel meets Fantasy Island type of thing with a little bit of like Kill Bill kicked in there. So, it's an island that isn't what it appears to be. We learn some things about the island as we go. We see we have a female lead character that has some struggles that she has to work through, and it has like that Hostel feel where people can pay to do certain things.
Oh, so is it kind of like Island of Dr. Monroe?
Yes and no. We don't really have any monsters.
Okay.
So ours is more, the island is more of a, not futuristic, but it has like some things on it that you wouldn't normally see on your everyday island.
So is this your first comic book that you've written?
No. So here's a funny story for you. I've been a comic fan forever. I've always written stuff, and I've never found an artist to work with, or I didn't have the funding to pay an artist decent page rates that be acceptable. So this year, being the worst year to ever that this could happen in, at the end of last year, Antarctic Press reached out, and they were doing they were relaunching Planet Comics, which became an IP that was in public domain. And it was a book that was like back in the 60s, was really popular. It has really strong female characters. And Antarctic Press reached out and they said, would you pitch us an idea for a story to put in this book? And so we pitched this story we had called Space Cooler about a kind of futuristic space prison with Brian Rogers doing the art on it. And they were good for it. They were going to have us break down the story into parts and run it through Planet. Long story short, we had an editorial change right before Christmas, and they wanted a new story. So Brian and I had about 2 weeks to come up with a new short story. So we did that. We got it in. We got published. COVID kind of slowed things down. The book didn't come out until middle of March, I think, like right before everything really shut down.
Right before the big hit.
Yeah. So that was my first published book, was the beginning of this year. So because Space Cooler didn't go that route, Brian and I kickstarted it. And we kickstarted it right around the same time. And I was watching it, and it kind of slowed like halfway through it as we were getting heavier into COVID. And I was just like, man, if people drop out, I totally understand it. This thing isn't going to make it. We made it through. We were successful. We got the book out to everybody. And then this book, ADRIFT, was, like I said, Jacob and I had been pitching ideas around for a while and decided that I like the Kickstarter platform. I like being able to tell the stories that I want to tell. There's nothing in our stories that would be rejected by a publisher. There's nothing like, hate related or anything like that. So it's just, we're able to tell the stories we want to tell, and it just takes away that one restriction of, an editor saying, hey, you know what, well, maybe if it went this way, it would work a little bit better.
Yeah, that makes stuff like that. Like, I've noticed a lot of self-made comic book artists and writers, it takes a little bit of the ease of the anxiety off waiting to hear what like companies have to say and stuff like that. Would you agree with that?
I would, yeah. And it's always tough, like when it's your idea and your story and somebody says, well, hey, why don't you try it this way and see, how, maybe we could do it this way and it'll work better this way. And it's kind of like, well, that's not the story I want to tell. That's the story you want to tell. So, yeah.
How protective are you of it? Or are you still willing, even after this Kickstarter, are you willing to promote it, or not promote it, excuse me, pitch it to a bigger company? Or do you like this avenue? I'm asking for those that are thinking which avenue to go, that way to have.
Yeah, no, I'm always open to pitching it, to other avenues and other publishers. And I think it helps you because, this is a 4-issue miniseries. So we ran issue 1, we got funded, we're going to put out issue 1. And I think it's in your benefit to the publishers because you're showing them, hey, I can do this. If I need to do this on my own, I can do it, and we'll put the book out, and it won't be in as many stores as if we went through your publisher, but we can still get this done, and we can still get this book out there to readers.
Okay. So the Kickstarter, is it still going, or did you just hit your goal and you're
done? No, we actually wrapped. Our last day was Friday, and again, and that's the thing with Kickstarter too, and it's new to me. This is the first year that we've done a couple, and I just, we seem to start strong, and then we hit that plateau where there's like a couple days where there's nothing. And you're like, oh my God, am I promoting this enough? Am I on the right platforms? Am I doing this the right way? And then, we get to the goal. We had a couple days left. And then surprisingly, like, you see more people actually, chipping in, and once it's funded, and I guess like they wait to see, hey, is this thing really gonna get made? Because if it does, then I'll chip in, and then I'll, buy into it.
A lot of people, I've never done a Kickstarter. I've supported Kickstarters, but a lot of people have said the same thing that you say. It starts off strong, and then it hits kind of like a little brick wall, and then it ends strong. Do you notice, is it something just that it's just how it is, or could you speak a little bit to that for those that are interested in the Kickstarter, and then we'll get back into your comics, so that, because you're living it, and I want people not to be discouraged,
Yeah, no, and I wish I had the answers, but it's just, it's weird because, like I said, we started out pretty good, and it's just when you get into that, 30 days is 30 days, it's going to be ups and downs, and I don't know if it's just in the beginning it's new and people see it and they're kind of like, oh, this is cool, and then you run into, every day there's like 10 more comic book Kickstarters out there, and it's like, you have to figure, okay, well, how do I, what can I do to have mine stand out, or what can I do to keep attention on mine as we keep going? Because, every day there's something new, and if it's like an industry pro creator, then it's like, they're going to get more attention than you, and it's like, how do I get more people drawn in over here? And so it's tough, but it's like, don't give up, keep with it. Every day I would go and I would make a post on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and say, hey, we could really use the support. Take a look. If this is something that interests you, then, please, consider backing us.
That's great advice. Like, keep going, don't give up. That's kind of what I, hoping for a lot of people, because we have, different age groups that are trying to do what you've done, is fund a successful comic book. And a lot of times, they hit that wall and then they get discouraged, but that's not the route to go. And you're a testament to that. So we're looking at some of the wonderful artwork from your artist. I'm so sorry. You said Jacob, correct?
It's Jacob. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you guys friends, or did you network to find him?
So yeah, so it's and that's like another thing that that I kind of, I guess I could give as advice to other people. I don't know, most people probably know, but you know, there's avenues out there where you can reach out to artists and you can find artists, and you know, sometimes you'll find people that are looking to break in just like you, and you may find somebody that is willing to, you know, do at least the 5-page submission stuff for you, and do it, you know, at a reasonable cost because they're new as well. Or for me, like personally with Space Cooler, Brian and I split the IP. So he owns half of anything that comes out of that book. So there's different routes that you can try like that. And I'm not saying, you know, don't find an artist, you know, to pay page rates, because if you can, you know, that's great, and you should totally do that. But like if you're new and you're trying to break in and you don't have that, you know, the funding for that to be able to pay, you know, hundreds of dollars for page rates, like sometimes you can find these people that will do it. For me, I still go to digital webbing every now and then, and people will post. There's 2 different categories. You can do it as working together and without pay, or there's like a section where, you know, you list like, hey, I'm going to pay you $100 a page if you could do this book. So it's really good to do like that and network that way. And I saw some of Jacob's stuff and just talked to him. I said, hey, I really like the stuff that you're doing. Have you thought about, you know, a comic like for this, or have you thought about that? And he's actually an art professor in Mexico, so that's like his full-time gig. And then he does comic just because he loves it.
That's amazing. Like it's so cool that you can reach out and, you know, talk to people that way and network, and it actually works out pretty good, because from what I've seen, the artwork is really, really, really nice. And then your writing coming to life, how does that feel? Like seeing your story just like, oh my God, this is what I envisioned, and there it is. Tell us a little bit how that feels.
Yeah, that's what I love about this medium with comics, is because, like, for me, I have a Bachelor in Fine Arts from Full Sail, where creative writing was what I worked on. So I've written spec scripts, I've written video games, I've written screenplays, and while I love all of it, like comics are the thing for me, just because I love seeing, you know, the artist take and working with the artist to bring these characters to life, and you know, the specifics of the character, things like that are just, you know, for me, that's what I love about comics. And you know, each artist has a different take on your character, which is cool as well. But that's why for comics has always been it for me. I always love that collaboration, and I love seeing, you know, what's in my head coming onto the page.
So you just said something pretty funny, which is like a small world thing. You said you went to Full Sail. I actually have my associates from Full Sail in creative writing, and I'm doing my bachelor's right now in media communications at Full Sail, and I'll go into my master's at Full Sail. So that's pretty. We're related now. We'll Full Sail. So for those that don't know, Full Sail University is down in Orlando, Florida, and it's a specialty university. It's safe to say, and it specializes in geekdom. So it's a great school if you want to learn like video game design and writing and marketing for, you know, television and movies and things like that. And there's Jack being a hater, because when I have something in common with
you could learn video game stuff that was related. Yeah, it's totally related.
It's not related, not even close. Related. But so if you don't mind saying, when did you graduate Full Sail?
June. This last June.
Yes, that's exciting. I still have 7 more months to go, but I'm in the home stretch, so that's always fine.
And there's actually a comic book class, which was interesting. where you have to script in the class. So that was interesting.
I did all of it. I did the video game writing, TV, movie, comic book, children's horror, all of that. Yeah, I was terrible, but I got my associates.
I think we all were, because the first time doing it, you're like, oh my God, is this gonna work? Is this gonna be good? But
it was a struggle for certain, because I'm not a horror person. So doing the horror class, I was like, who out there wants to do this homework for me? But I ended up having to do it myself. So you always read comic books. When did it start? Were you like a kid, or did you find them as a teenager?
So yeah, and I think I have the same story as lots of people. As a kid, my great grandmother used to watch me. We'd go to the grocery store, and I would kind of beeline from her when we went in, because I don't want to be walking to the grocery store with grandma. So I found my way to the comic spinner rack in the front of the store, and just the covers just immediately drew me in, and just to see all that stuff and all the action, and like, oh man, I need to look at this, because is Iron Man really going to win this battle, or what I don't know what's going to happen here. I need to buy this. Yeah, so that was my entry into it. And then I found as I got older and I was going to conventions and stuff, that the comic book community is like one of the nicest communities that you could be a part of, because they're all, for the most part, super welcoming, super warming. They give you tips. Like, for personal experience for me, I'm from New York, and I used to go to Wizard World Philly, and I met Jimmy Palmiotti there and talked to him, and I felt bad because I was like geeking out. I'm like, oh my God, I love your Daredevil run with Kevin Smith. It's the greatest thing ever made, and he was super nice, and he's like, oh, I'm glad you like it. What did you like about it? Signed my books, and then was like, hey, we're going to be in the hotel lobby after the show if you want to come down. And I talked to him, and he gave me his email address and said, send me what you're writing, and I'll kind of help you if I can. And did, and we've been, close friends ever since. And he's been really good about looking over my stuff or giving advice. He actually did a variant cover for us for Space
Wow,
Group.
that's exciting.
So yeah, it was really nice.
What part of New York are you from?
I'm from Ithaca. I don't know if you know.
Ithaca.
So right below.
I know Ithaca.
I'm from New York. I'm from the Bronx, though.
I'm not from New York.
I moved from Ithaca I lived on East 88th Street, and my first real job in the city was sales forecasting for Estee Lauder at the corporate office. So yeah,
that's a job.
Yeah, so I knew the city well. I loved it there because I just, at the time, being single and living there, it was the greatest, because you could take a train and do anything you wanted any night. There could be a concert, there might be this,
I literally told Jack that last week. I was like, dude, I miss being in the city, because you want something at 2 a.m., you get it. Like Jamaican spot, real Chinese food, the Hispanic, anything, 2 a.m., you got it. It's there. So definitely miss that as well. So I completely understand. So are you a lover of all comics, or do you have a favorite? Are you Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse?
Oh, you're going to start that fight.
Yeah. Well, it's not a fight.
No, not with me, especially, because I love something from all of those. I love my Hellboy from Dark Horse, and some of my friends have put out books in Image, and I love that, and I love that about Image, that you can go there and you can get your stuff published, that's creator owned. And interestingly enough, Marvel and DC, I was always a fan, but I don't know if I got overwhelmed with so many different titles for each character and things like that, that I kind of backed away, and I'm more drawn to the original stuff. I love it when someone creates a new character or a new hero, and then you're learning about this person right then, and it's new and it's fresh and it's exciting, and I don't know how many more Spider-Man stories you can tell, or Iron Man stories you can tell that don't tie back into somehow into, you know, the stuff that's been done before.
Yeah, definitely. And then we get a sense of that from ADRIFT, because it's definitely something different, something new. How important was it for you to separate yourself from the norm?
So for me, it's interesting, I guess, because when I write, you know, I try to make sure that the story's entertaining, and I try to make sure that the issues are moving, and that, you know, that we keep you entertained and going, and, you know, use that in the back of my mind. It's always there that, hey, you know, this reader's going to spend 10 seconds looking at this panel, so you need to put enough in there that they're going to know what they need to know before they move on to the next one, and it's going to be interesting enough to keep them, you know, continuing on through the book. So that was really big for me. And I'm really open, like with my artists, and I tell them, I'll send them the script and I'll say, hey, this is the unedited version. Let me know what you think. Because, you know, sometimes I'll think, hey, this would look cool in a panel. And they may come back and say, yeah, that would look cool, but I can't draw that because you're asking for 50 million things in this one panel that we can't do. So, you know, we work together and collaborate and get that down to where it works for both of us.
Can you speak a little to that? Like, how important is it to actually work with your artist versus telling your artist, no, this is what I want and this is how it's gonna be done, excuse me.
Sure. So I really think that you need to have that working relationship, because, you know, who wants to work with someone where it's just, here's a script, you know, you know, it's yours now. You need to figure out what you need to do and do it, versus, you know, coming back and saying, hey, you know, I like where the story's going. I think with this panel, maybe if we change things up a little bit, you know, it may work better. And I'm always open to that, and I appreciate it. And, you know, I'll tell them, hey, man, that's awesome. I wish I would have thought of that. And I'm glad that you came back to me and said, you know, hey, this isn't going to work this way, but we can make it work, you know, the way that I'm thinking.
It's that important feedback, because they know their limitations and what they can do.
Sure.
So it's important for you because you're trying to see your vision come to life, and they're the ones helping with that. So it's good to listen to their limitations as well.
Sure.
So you said Jacob is from Mexico. Is there anybody else on your team as well with your comic book?
So Mauricio Montez is the colorist, and he's actually in Mexico as well. So he and Jacob have worked together on quite a few things. And then, drum roll, Wes Loker, Full Sail alumni, actually lettered the first 5 pages.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. So I've gotten over being lazy, and I've started lettering the book from there on. But I just, yeah, I'd never done it before that class. And then as I did it, it was okay. But I'm like, I'm not the best at this. It's probably better if somebody else did.
I was so terrible at that. And I was like, I never knew how much goes into comics, and I never want to make like, my whole thing was, when I first started the class, I was like, oh, I get to see my comic come to life because I've written a comic and blah, blah, blah. And then it started, and I was like, and I'm not making my comic because I can't do this. This is terrible.
And then there he was. So that's Mauricio. It was Wes before him. That's Mauricio.
That's pretty cool that you've got that nice building of people to support you and help you through this journey. A lot of times, a lot of writers who, and I'm not trying to speak against you, I guess is what I'm about to say, who can't draw, feel like they have to do everything, or artists who can't get the story down packed, they feel like they have to do everything. A lot of times it's all about collaboration, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is, you know, you want it to be fun. You know, like I come into it with an idea, and that's what I pitched to Jacob is, hey, you know, what about this island where this and this happens, and it happens to this person? What do you think? You know, and then he'll come back and say, yay, nay, you know, I think that it could be better if we did it this way, or maybe if we added, you know, this piece to it. I tend to ask like the artist too right up front before we start, hey, what do you like drawing and what do you not like drawing, or what do you think you struggle with? Because if you don't want to draw motorcycles or you can't draw motorcycles, then I don't have to write motorcycles.
That is actually a really, I think you're the first person that I've ever heard say that has worked with like other, another entity of the comic book thing. You ask them what they can't, shut up, Jack, what they can't.
Just like entity, like where there's aliens involved in this.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're writing an alien story and they're like, I can't draw aliens, you may have a problem. But if it's like a motorcycle or a horse or something, then okay, we'll work around that. We'll change it to a bike or something else, or something that can, unless it's like a big part of the story or the main character or thing like that, then usually it's something you can work around.
That's actually really interesting, and I hope people are taking notes to that. I find that like super interesting. I never thought to be like, what do you like to draw and what don't you like to draw? So I know where to adjust or bring in somebody else or, look for someone else. Not that they, that it's just what you're looking for. That's actually really interesting. You got me on that one. That's the first time I've heard that. And I think that's pretty, I think that's pretty cool. I know Jack's got.
Yeah, well, you want to keep them happy too. You want to make it as much fun for them as you can, because you don't want it to be like, I don't want them to feel like, oh, I got to draw these pages today and it's the worst thing I've got to do, and then I don't want to do this. I want it to be fun and have them have a not necessarily a connection to the character, enjoy telling that that story with the characters.
Yeah, because if they're having fun and they're enjoying the story and they're connecting to it.
Their work will show it too. Exactly. The work will show that they're actually,
yeah, exactly. I believe that 100%. I've read comics where I can tell somebody wasn't into it, whether it was the artwork or the writer themselves, and you can definitely feel that. As weird as it sounds, you can feel that through the pages and stuff. So you said this is a 4-part series?
Yes. So this is a 4-issue mini. So we kickstarted issue 1. And then what we'll do is probably the same thing we'll do with Space Cooler, is that we'll do issues 2, 3, and 4, and then we'll either kickstart it as the trade paperback or the individual issues, or just do it, as a trade paperback at the end. I don't really want to push my luck with Kickstarter on individual issues every few months, so we'll probably get through the entire series before
popping back up again.
Yeah, before we launch anything else. Like I don't think we'll launch individual issues for 2, 3, and 4.
Do you think you'll do it through, well, maybe am I getting an exclusive? I don't know. We're about to find out. Are you thinking of launching it through like a website or something?
No, we'll probably kickstart it again, but it'll just be the trade when we're done, because it's just it's tough, like when you do the floppies and you're doing it as single issues, because you don't want to wear out your crowd and be like, I know you just funded this Kickstarter 4 months ago, but here's issue 2. Now we need to raise X amount again to get this printed, and then 3 or 4 months later saying, hey, we're back again. Could you do this? So we do issue 1 as kind of like that litmus test, or that taste test to see, hey, do people really like this, and is this something that they're interested in? And if so, then great, and we'll rush to get through the rest of it. But Jacob will start working on issue 2 probably this week or next week.
That's fine. That's definitely fine. Well, it seems like we've almost close to our mark here. So for those interested, you said you have Instagram, Facebook? Plug yourself so that way people know where to find you.
I do. And also look really quick. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with that stuff. I think it's weird. I think there's more than me for Mark. If you look at Mark Fenton, I think there was like a guy on PBS that talked about trains that was Mark Fenton. So I don't want to go down that route and think that I'm the train guy. But,
that's amazing.
Yeah, so hopefully nobody does that. So generally, so for Twitter, it's Big Smooth 40, which was like a nickname that came from before.
Tell me that's like a 90s thing.
So
like that was her 90s rapper name.
Yeah. So it's BIGSMOOBE40. And that's for Twitter. And then Instagram is, I think it's the same thing, but a different number. Probably. Yeah. So it's Big Smooth 39 on Instagram.
That's amazing. Like I'm so like I'm so looking for the next rap album from Big Smooth.
Yes.
Well, Mark, I really appreciate you taking the time and hanging out with little old me and telling us about ADRIFT. Yes, I'm super, like, it's pretty cool. It's definitely different. Everybody knows I'm into different storylines, and uniqueness is my thing. So I'm excited to see what else you got in store for us, the rest of the story.
And actually, this is the first time we've announced it, but towards the end of the year, like maybe November, December, I'm actually working on an anthology book where the theme is hero, and it's basically 5-page, 6-page short stories by industry pros. So it'll be I'm writing, and Phil Hester is doing the one of the stories, and Paul Kupperberg and Steve Irwin are doing a story. So it's a lot of industry pros that have been doing comics for years that are contributing to this. So look for it. I think
yes, we will definitely be looking for it. We'll post it up on our Facebook page when it does release and officially announce. I'm so glad it got an exclusive. I know, I'm all about the exclusive. I'm a sucker for an exclusive. Well, Mark, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Guys, if we're going to put the links all up in the description and our comments and stuff, go follow Mark. As always, like, share, subscribe to us if you haven't already. I don't know what you're doing with your life. Like, get from underneath the rock and like do that. Issueswithshow.com. Apparently we have a newsletter, something along those lines. But the website is cool. So if nothing else, go to the website. Don't at me at @thebreakdown_show because I won't answer. And as always, guys, see you next Wednesday. Bye, everyone.